And welcome back for another episode of Thursdays with Charlie, number 79 on the 2nd of December, 2021. We're actually in the last month of the year already. Final reminder, our Christmas party is December the 10th at the Starview Room in the Riverside. We're at about 340 seats sold already, and this will be the last weekend coming up, December the 5th, to purchase tickets if you're interested in them. $25 each or a table of 10 for $250. We regret to inform you that our copies of Word and Song, the missalette with the readings and all the hymns in it for 2021, or in 22 rather, have not yet arrived. They're still caught in that supply chain crisis somewhere. We are hoping that we will have them. There's still a chance they might come in time for the weekend. If not, we're going to hope for next weekend, or if not, the following weekend. We're hoping they arrive. We miss them dearly, I know, and I know a lot of people are interested in purchasing them. When they come, they will be available for $5 each so that you can have your own copy, use it at home, and use it when you come to church as well. In the meantime, we do have a few copies left of The Word Among Us, which has the readings in it for every day during Advent. Those are up at the church in the magazine rack by the church bathrooms. There's only a few copies left. They're free. If you'd like to come up and get one while they're available, please do so. Or when you come to Mass over the weekend, be sure to stop at one of the church Masses, either Saturday night or Sunday, and pick up a copy while they last. I think there's about 20 copies left of those. And that's at least a good resource to use for the readings, and hopefully Word and Song will come in sooner or later. Again, I mentioned on last Sunday that the 2022 calendars have been ordered. We're waiting for them, but the company told me right off when I ordered, we can't make any promises about when they will arrive. We are hopeful that they might make it by the 1st of January, so you'll be able to have the calendars for the whole of the new year. By the way, 2022 is a special year. It's our 30th anniversary of being the Catholic community here in Laughlin. We were founded in 1992, so we're already going to be 30 years old. We'll do some special things about that during the coming new year. Among odd things that I've heard recently, some of you are familiar. You might remember, like I do, that when we were in college or shortly thereafter, that we loved something called ramen noodles. We would eat them like crazy. I still like ramen noodles. I do it as a treat for myself. They're probably not the most healthy thing in the world, but they are delicious. And now the top ramen company has come out with soda. Ramen soda. They have a basic flavor, a chicken flavor, a seafood flavor, and a chili flavor with a few spices in it. I can't remember the last time I said, gee, I wish I could have a good seafood flavored cold drink. I'm not looking forward to that, but I will have to try to find them somewhere so I can try them. I'm looking forward to that. We're in Cycle C as of last Sunday when the new church year began on the first week of Advent, and that means most of our Sunday Gospels are going to be from the Gospel according to St. Luke. As I mentioned, Luke's Gospel gives us all of the joyful mysteries of the Rosary. It gives us most of what we know of the Christmas story, the story of the Annunciation, the angel Gabriel announcing to Mary that she's to be the Mother of God. So many beautiful things in the Christmas story come to us from St. Luke. So we'll be hearing a lot from St. Luke during the coming year. And last Sunday, the first Sunday of Advent, we did events from 25 years ago, the year 1996. This coming Sunday, look forward, we're going to do events and things from 50 years ago. That would be 1971. You might want to think back. Where were you in 1971? What were you doing? What was uppermost in your mind? And what caught your attention most in that year? We'll look forward to saying a few words about that at all of the Masses in the sermon. We're in the season of Advent. It's 4 weeks, and as it turns out this year, it's almost 4 full weeks. It began on last Sunday, the 28th of November, and it's going to go until Christmas, which is the 25th of December, which is a Saturday. So we get that full 4th week of Advent in for the weekday readings and the Masses. Advent has a lot of different customs. At one time, it was really thought of to be a penitential season, much like the season of Lent. And so there were Advent restrictions on the amount of food you would have and whether you would have 3 full meals a day, and some days that you would not eat meat beyond the Fridays, which of course were observed back then, no meat on Fridays. But Advent lost a lot of that penitential thing and now became more of a season of expectation, getting ready, preparing, being alert to the coming of Christ on Christmas, and be ready for it. One of our great Advent customs here in Laughlin is we do try to sing Silent Night at each of the weekend Masses at which we have music. Silent Night, that beautiful old standard Christmas hymn that reminds us so much of who we're getting ready to celebrate. Anything we can do to keep that in the forefront of our minds, that this is not just another day in the week we're getting ready for. It's not just another holiday. It has a special connection with Jesus. It has a special connection with God's love for the world. He loved the world so much that he became one of us. He lived among us for so many, many years. So we'll look forward to a lot of those themes showing up again and again in this season of Advent. Tomorrow is a special day in our church. It's December the 3rd, the feast of St. Francis Xavier, one of the great pioneering, if you will, missionaries of our church. He went off to the Far East, to China, to parts of Asia. I was fortunate enough a number of years ago when I was visiting over in Hong Kong. I got to go to a little island nearby Macau. And in the island of nearby Macau, I can't remember the name exactly of the island, but St. Francis Xavier is buried there. And I got to visit the little church on that island and the little place where he is buried. One of the things I remember most about December 3rd is for many years, for 14 years in New Jersey, I taught at St. Joseph Regional High School with the Xaverian brothers, who were founded in the 1800s, but their patron was St. Francis Xavier. And we would always have a big celebration, a big feast on the evening of December 3rd every year. And we would invite, we had a large property, a high school, we would invite the Xaverian brothers from Connecticut and from New York and from Massachusetts to come and join us, even though we were the only community of Xaverian brothers that was in New Jersey. I always look forward to it. It was a fun time getting to see everybody and spend some time with them, have a nice meal together, have Mass together. It was always a good celebration. I always remember that when we get to December 3rd. Of course, here in our little parish, we don't have the big party and feast, but we will have Mass at 8 o'clock on Friday morning in honor of St. Francis Xavier. Then next week, Wednesday, the 8th of December, is a holy day of obligation. It's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception of Mary. We believe that Mary was preserved free from the stain of original sin throughout her life from the first moment of her conception. That's why it's called the Immaculate Conception. It was defined as a truth of our faith rather recently. It was in 1854 that Pope Pius IX defined that and said Catholics will believe this. But our country has a special relationship with Mary as the title of the Immaculate Conception. Back in 1790, the bishops got together, the bishops that had control over various areas of the United States, and they decided that they would like to have Mary patroness of our country as the title of Immaculate Conception. So even before it was defined by the Church as being a definite belief of the Catholic faith, it was considered so normative and so normal within Catholics that the United States bishops, way back in the late 1700s, adopted her as the patroness of our country. So for those of us here in the United States, it is a very special day, and that's why in the United States it's a holy day of obligation. We're going to have 3 masses to give our people opportunity to attend. They'll be at 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, December the 8th, at noon on Wednesday, December the 8th, and at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, December the 8th. We look forward to seeing you at one of those masses if you're going to be in our area on that day. It's always a beautiful celebration, and it's kind of a nice break in the season of Advent as we get ready for the great season of Christmas. One of the customs of Christmas that I think just about everybody engages in, if not full-fledgedly, at least to some extent, and that's the sending of Christmas cards. And this year, Christmas cards, if you want to date them, are about 410 years old. The very first Christmas card dates, at least as far as we can historically back it up, to 1611. And the Christmas card was sent to the King of England, King James I, and to his son, Henry Frederick, who was the Prince of Wales, the eldest son of the King and Queen of England. And it was sent by a man by the name of Michael Meyer. It's the first recorded, preserved Christmas card that we can trace. So 410 years ago, what we know as the sending of Christmas cards began with a very modest way, one Christmas card sent to the monarch in the land of England, and that's really grown. I try to send out Christmas cards every year. Last year I did not, between the pandemic and not being able to see really well. I didn't do it. And I got a number of phone calls and emails from people saying, "What's wrong? How are you? Why didn't you do it?" I try to send them out, and I try to let people know that I think of them many times during the year. And I think that's one of the things Christmas cards can accomplish. It is a yearly reminder that we're thinking of family and friends. I know sometimes they're sent out electronically by email. Sometimes they're sent by text message now, or phone calls, which are really nice. But there's something about actually holding a Christmas card and saying, they thought enough, they sent this to me. I generally write my Christmas cards when I do them, instead of alphabetically, I do mine geographically. So I start with the people who are farthest away. So my friends in Australia are usually the first people I write Christmas cards to, because I know with the mail service being what it is, it takes longer for them to get there. And then I'll start to continue with some friends who are over in Europe, and finally get to my friends who are in the United States and Canada, and even the locals within our state of Nevada. I try to do it, and I'm hoping this year I will get to do it. I look forward to it very much. It's kind of nice to feel and just see the people's names and recognize that there's relationships of friendship or family existing that we want to commemorate and remember. Some people might know that way back in my past, maybe 20, 30 years ago, one of the things I did, I wrote some greeting cards as a hobby, and I was trying to market them. And we tried to market them through Hallmark. My mother ran a Hallmark card store, and I presented some of my materials to Hallmark cards, and they rejected them. And I was rejected by Hallmark not because my work wasn't good, but because Hallmark had a contract with Helen Steiner Rice for inspirational cards. And so they did not want to infringe on that contract, which apparently had an exclusion clause that no other writer could be doing inspirational cards. And that was definitely the field in which mine fell. So we went to another card company. We went to Paramount Cards. And Paramount Cards bought several of my designs and my verbiage. They actually did the artwork. I did the writing, the words of the cards. And they published a line of them. And it was really fascinating to go into a card store, or even once I remember being in an airport in a city in the United States, and I went into the little gift shop at the airport, and there was a rack of Paramount cards, and I went to it immediately, and I found my card, and it was kind of like, wow, I wrote that, and that was so beautiful. And they ran them for a couple of years, and I really, really appreciated that, and it was a really nice feeling. At one point, though, I decided that I wanted to make some of the cards available to my family and my friends, and this was after Paramount had run several years of them, and they were no longer printing them actively. And I wrote to Paramount Cards to ask if I could reproduce them, or would they be interested in reproducing them, because I wanted to use them for a special occasion. And Paramount wrote back to me and said, well, they were not interested in reproducing them, but that I had actually signed away my rights to them when I sold it to them, and therefore I could not even print out in my own handwriting what I had written on the card and mail it to somebody. That would be an infringement of the copyright. So I had to negotiate with them to purchase back the copyright to my own writing, which I did, and at that point in my life I resolved that I would never sell the copyright to anything I had written. I would retain that for myself so that I could decide in the future what I wanted to do with it. It limited production on some things, but it makes me feel better that I control that if I write it. I have to credit Hallmark cards with one thing. I mentioned my mother for 30 years ran a Hallmark card store. And one of the great things about Hallmark is they would bring in these displays at various points during the year. And sometimes the displays were not only really elaborate, but they involved big containers in which the cards were kept as well as displayed. And they were the size of bedroom chests. They were huge. And at the end, when they would come up with a new design, they would just throw them out. They would ask the store to get rid of them. And so I would bring them home. And for a period of my life, my bedroom and part of my house was furnished by Hallmark. Their card cases, their card drawers were what I used as my filing cabinets and my bookshelves, and at some points even my dressers in my bedroom. They were very well built back then. I'm not sure if Hallmark still does as much in constructing virtually furniture to sell their cards, but it was fun for a while there, and I did use them. One of the things that crops up every year at Christmas is a fascination with railroads and trains. I'm sure at some point every family has had a railroad train that ran around their Christmas tree. Maybe it was just a circular track. Maybe it was something much more elaborate, a big layout with mountains and hills and ice skating rinks and all of that. But a lot of families have that connection with trains. I remember when I was a kid, we bought a set of Lionel trains, and we had them around our Christmas tree, and then for many years I had them on a big piece of plywood down in my basement and would play with them occasionally. Later on, I got into something called HO, which was a much smaller gauge train. Seemed to have a lot more detail sometimes than the Lionels, but much, much smaller scale. And then years after that, I ended up giving away all of my trains because I figured I was never going to go back and play with them. I kind of regret that now because it is kind of fun for nostalgia to look and hear the sound of a train. A lot of times in exhibits or in decorations and setups for Christmas, they still have that train running around. It doesn't really have much to do with the original Christmas, but it does have a lot to do, I think, with our memories of Christmas. Of course, most of the kids growing up today have been at least vaguely familiar with Thomas the Tank Engine. I once knew a kid friend, the son of a friend of mine, that was all he talked about was Thomas the Tank Engine. In recent years, the Polar Express movie certainly has caught a lot of attention and refocused it on trains. Well, the Christmas season brings to mind many different flavors of food, many different styles of food. I look forward to Christmas dinner. Our Lithuanian custom was that on Christmas Eve there would be a big dinner, which always involved a multiple number of courses, and many of the courses had to be seafood. So we did things with fish and with shrimp and with clams or with oysters, and that was always a big part of Christmas. We'll talk more about that when we get a little bit closer to Christmas Day. But Christmas certainly does have an involvement with eating. And two of the things I'm most attracted to at Christmas to eat over the years are Peeps, that wonderful marshmallow-like delicacy that I love so much, and fruitcakes, one of the most maligned Christmas foods in the world. There are so many people who make jokes about fruitcake and say, how can anybody like this? And yet there are some of us who really, really do enjoy fruitcakes. I've noticed I've already gotten some things in for this year, and my collection of Peeps has grown already for this Christmas. We got a new shape this year, and that's Christmas stocking shaped Peeps. They're little red stockings. They really have no special flavor other than any other color Peep, but they're very vibrant red, and that looks really, really nice. Then, of course, a few years ago, Peeps came out with gingerbread Peeps. These have a little ginger flavor, very light, but very, very good. So I've got my gingerbread Peeps ready over there. And then we have Christmas trees, the green of the Christmas trees. They tend to be flavorless. They're marshmallow flavors. We got the Christmas snowmen, which are very, very popular as well. And we've got Christmas this is candy cane flavored Peeps. And they do have a good bit of flavor. Some people have asked me, do you eat a lot of them? I do eat a lot of Peeps, but not all at one time. They're actually quite low in calories. A package of 3 or 4 Peeps would have less than 100 calories, so you can kind of space that out during an evening munching on them. And I like to let them get a little dry, a little hard when you want to enjoy them. That's always a little crunchy. So I open the package, let them dry out, and then enjoy them even more. I was told by some friends that if you put toothpicks in Peeps and you put 2 of them, like say 2 chicks of Peeps for Easter or 2 snowmen for Peeps of Christmas, and you put toothpicks in their like arms, if you will, and you put them in the microwave, you can watch them sort of battle one another out before they melt. It does make a mess in the microwave, so if you do that, put some paper toweling down there, it will protect it. And fruitcake is the other Christmas food that I really like. And years ago, one of our parishioners here found an amazing fruitcake out of Harry and David, a company that sells by mail. And then a couple of years after that, they were no longer available. They just had a regular fruitcake. And my friend found this year and said, it looks like the original one. And I think they have gone back to making the original fruitcake. So I'm going to look forward to trying that. And then one of our parishioners came up with something. This is from the Collins Street Bakery. It's in New Orleans. And the Collins Street Bakery this year came out with a selection of individual fruitcakes. So I've got like a dozen small fruitcakes over there that I can play with later on. And definitely those will get eaten and enjoyed as we go along the way. As we get closer, we're going to be talking more about holiday foods. One of my friends who likes to cook and loves to play around with food said the best thing to do with fruitcake is to make French toast using fruitcake instead of bread. I have never actually tried that, but it really sounds good. If you think of a nice slice of fruitcake being warmed, with a little bit of butter on it, and then you're going to pour syrup on it. It sounds really good. So this might be the year that I give that a try. As we get closer to Christmas, we will talk more about Christmas foods and national traditions for Christmas and so many wonderful things for the holidays. Certainly look forward to sharing that with you. We're going to be coming out with our Christmas schedule. Hopefully by this weekend we will have that out so you can plan, if you're going to be in our area, what masses you might like to attend over the Christmas season. It falls on a Saturday, so Christmas Eve will be on a Friday. And we're negotiating with the Riverside for what masses we can have there based on their schedule as well. Hopefully we'll have that all ironed out for this weekend. In the meantime, though, it's time for Pascal to come on down. And in the spirit of Christmas, one of our all-time favorite Christmas carols is the Latin Adeste Fideles. O come, all ye faithful, gather, all ye faithful, Adeste Fideles. We sing that hymn, we'll sing it, of course, on Christmas, but it's a good reminder that Christmas is a time for gathering family, gathering friends. Maybe not only sending cards, but picking up the phone, spending time with them. Maybe a video chat with some people who are far away and you're not going to get a chance to see. But take the time. Christmas definitely is a family celebration. It celebrates God's love for us, and He loves us not only as individuals, but as members of our families and our friendship circles. God bless, and thanks for sharing this with us. Have a good day.